You know, there's a lot of contractors out there, especially on YouTube, that talk so much about how they can do this and do that. Well, here's a woman in Jacksonville, Florida, who spent truly thousands of dollars and paid these guys to come in. They tore out her floor. They did absolutely nothing to solve this woman's problem. Eventually, she fired them. And she finally found us. And, of course, we're in Orlando, so it's a drive for us to come up to Jacksonville. You can see, I mean, these guys, they did a whole lot of nothing. They did a lot of digging, but they didn't do anything. And I see this quite a bit. And hopefully you guys, when you watch these YouTube videos, especially when somebody's ranting and raving at the top of their lungs about how great their system works, beware. That is usually a telltale sign of a real predator in the market. This install is in Jacksonville, Florida, and it's actually, I guess this is the 5th year now since we've been there. It's been through 5 major hurricanes, and it works absolutely 100% the same as the day we installed it. Let's take a look, and you can see here of what exactly needs to be done in a tiny, tight crawl space. This is not an easy dig, but it's something that you could do yourself, but you might be better off hiring a professional to do it. I'm going to post parts 1 and 2, so the video is a little lengthy, but I'll try to put some chapter points in here so you can easily jump to different sections of the video.
Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. Today we're doing, I'm doing, a crawl space with very little headroom. You can see my head hits right here, and I'm actually laying down. This is a difficult dig, but something that if you don't mind getting dirty, you know, it's just a job. And boy, will it save you thousands and thousands if you do some of it yourself or all of it yourself. So I've already started to dig, and it's only been a few minutes. You can see the trench. Started right there by the door. Sump pump's going to go over there in the corner. And footer tiles, French drain, are going to run all the way around the perimeter of this crawl space. So I'm going to keep on working, and I'll keep you posted. Okay, so here's the footer right here, and we're digging a trench right alongside the footer all the way through this crawl space. And you can see there is virtually no headroom here at all. Difficult dig, but something that, if you don't mind getting dirty, is not that difficult. So you can see the trench we started to dig through there, and it's only been 5 minutes. Dug a nice little trench. We're going to continue all the way around the perimeter, which is a big crawl space, runs way over to the other side, but we'll take some video of that on the way. But again, so you can see where you need to be. People ask me that question all the time. Here's the footer. This is the foundation wall. The footer, right here. That's the footer. And we're right beside the footer, about 1 inch or so beside it. Okay, so I've already dug the back wall here. Let's just kind of look here. We're inside the house. The kitchen, which is back there, that's an addition. And there's actually going to be a sump pump down underneath of that kitchen as well. But I've dug this entire original wall all the way to the crawl space opening. And, you know, it's not an easy dig, but, I mean, you're on your belly, and you're just using a tiny little shovel to dig down to that footer, which I showed you a little bit earlier. This lady had bought this house and had just horrible problems. I know you can't see well because there's not much light.
Okay, there was no reason to tear out this subfloor to get down in this crawl space. I think I've only taken subfloor up maybe 2 times in 30 years to work on a crawl space. The next thing is, it's not even tongue and groove subfloor. In other words, it's not the right kind of plywood to be putting down. As I was under the crawl space, there wasn't any evidence of any rot on the subfloors at all. but these guys sold her and told her that that's what they were going to do. Next, they went ahead and they tried to put something down here, and they've just got a little pump inside of a hefty trash can, which is okay, but when they were digging, they collapsed it. You can see a second crawl space. They ran a footer pipe across the top of the footer. It has to flood up that high for it to work. The little inch pipe that comes out of that sump pump, it does nothing. It can't possibly remove the water. They did all this work, and it rained while they were here, and the crawl space was completely flooded. That's when the woman said, okay, I've had enough. They charged her so much money. As you watch different videos here on YouTube, really beware of that person that's saying that they can do it better than everybody else. They've got all these great big machines, when in reality, you don't need a big machine to do much of any of this. I know Apple Drains is one of the larger companies in the nation, and yeah, we get attacked by all kinds of different channels, really trying to badmouth us, making up things, searching our website, trying to find anything they can to just really knock us and put us down. But you know what? There's also other companies out here on YouTube that do a really great job. And I'm going to give a shout out to Shawn at Gate City Foundation Drainage. This guy's making a real splash, and he does great work. If you haven't seen his channel, take a look. He's got a lot of good how-to tips. He's actually right between two of our offices in North Carolina, and I have no problem with him. I think he's great. You know, we're not in competition with him by any means, and if we have another job in his area, I would definitely refer you to him.
Okay, so down here in the crawl space, you can see, let me crawl over there, I've already dug this entire trench all the way down to where you see daylight at the other end. And the shovel I'm using is just this tiny little spade, and it's slow going, but not that bad of a dig really. Too bad it's such a tight crawl space, you can see the top. But what makes it difficult is, if you can see that sewer line, the plumbers came in and put in new pipes, but they left the old cast iron laying there, giant pieces of it, because it's difficult to move around, which means that I have to move it around just to dig, and of course try to haul it out of here. What a tight little spot right through there. But wow, you know, once this is all done, this is going to dry out. Right now, the next thing I've got to do is move the mound of dirt that's laying right over here from this caved in hefty trash can. I've got to move that just to dig. So a lot of obstacles, you know. When you're planning to dig your own crawl space, think about what happens if you cannot complete that job. If you're going to leave debris down there that has to be moved, it's going to cost a lot of money to do so. So just kind of keep those things in mind. And again, this is not that hard of a job. It's just a really tight little crawl space. Okay, so here I am in, the first thing I've got to do is move this pipe that they stuck into this trash can, and you can see where it's just collapsing. And it normally doesn't collapse, but they were digging around it, and of course all the weight smashed it. So pull this out, and I got to get this out of the way so that I can continue my trench, which is right here. Come through, move that pile of dirt and all their debris, and then I can continue around the corner. So here we go. So you want to see the mark of a good plumber? Well, you see that piece of cast iron pipe? That's the 5th piece. These guys came in here, they cut it all out. They did a great job of plumbing the new sewer, which is all of this over here. But they left all of their materials, their waste, they left it all here for someone else to clean up. If you're going to hire somebody, make sure they do the job right. So the way the system works, if you can hear me, is that water right now has no place to go at all. And by digging footer tiles around the perimeter of your crawl space, you're now giving that water a place to go. Yeah, it could flood even after we're done, but the water does have a place to go. Again, without the footer tile, that water just stands in the soil and goes nowhere. And sometimes it takes a little while to get the water to enter your system, but that travels around to a sump pump. Sump pump lifts it up and sends it out. There's not much more you can do inside your crawl space. So when you have this done, or if you do it yourself, remember how the system works. Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. We are here in Jacksonville, Florida, day 2 of a crawl space. Very tight, tiny crawl space. Large crawl space, but not a lot of room to work. What we've already started to do is to unroll our perforated pipe, and we're going to bring that in through the floor because they had this open. If you saw part of the video yesterday, we're going to pull that pipe down through these floor joists, and then we'll send it all the way around the perimeter. So already got 100 feet in there. Now we have another 100 foot to put down. We've got to remove some of this excess soil, so we brought the wheelbarrow in. What we have to do is we have to dig out this old hefty trash can that they put in here as a sump pit. We also need to remove some of that soil, so we have to haul that away. Really a hard little spot, but we'll get it out of there. Okay, so you can see we've got our footer tile installed and our gravel. This runs all the way up to the front of the house, and there's a sump pit up there. Now I've pulled some pipe down through here. This will be the discharge from that pipe, and it'll actually hang from these rafters when we put it all together. And we stopped our gravel right here because we're going to put another sump pump right there at the opening where you see that pipe. We're going to put another pit and a pump right there, and that's what I'm going to do today. Okay, been about 10 minutes, didn't take too long. Let me show you where I'm at so you can kind of get an idea. You can see our hole, we're about 1.5 feet. Need to go about another foot down. But again, it only took 10 minutes and we're doing really good. Granted, it is extremely hot down here and humid. It's actually raining outside, and that makes it even more humid. And thank heavens for tools. This little shovel, I picked up 3 of them for the guys, although I'm down here by myself. $10. This was at Lowe's. You know, all you can do is force this into the ground and pry it out a little bit. And then I just take my hands and pull out the dirt. But it's coming right along. Again, it's been about 10 minutes and probably another 20 minutes. And I'll have this pit dug. We'll test it out. Then I can hook up the rest of the footer tiles, and this system's ready to go. Of course, we need to put the pump in, but you know, to get the hard stuff done here. If you're doing this yourself, excuse me, if you're doing this yourself, be prepared. You know, it's a lot of labor, but you can save, you know, tens of thousands on this particular job. And if you've got this tight of a crawl space, remember the 2 things of how this system works. Number 1, water has no place to go until you do something about it. By putting in footer tiles around the perimeter, which people call the French drain, that's gravel perforated pipe, you know, perforated pipe surrounded by gravel, that gives the water a place to go. Then you bring it over to a sump pit right here, or wherever yours is, that drops into your pit, the pump lifts it up, and you send it outside. What you do with it outside is another story. And we put it into a downspout drain, but you could pump it out, but eventually you need to do something with that as well. But without the footer system, you have a flood. That water sits there for weeks and weeks. So anyways, back to work. So I've dug out quite a bit with the shovel. I'm just going to reach in here and pull out the dirt. because there's not much room here to pry with your shovel. There's no leverage. And what I tell my guys is that no matter what you do, just do it. You know, believe you can do it, and I promise you that you'll get it done. Just keep working at it. So you can see I've got the hole dug for the sump pit, and you can see the water beginning to rise in that pit. That's the groundwater, and that's the level of water here in Jacksonville in this area. So we've got not only that, but I opened up the footer tile. You can see the trench going that way, and then we have another trench going that direction, which brings the water in from the other side. So let's go ahead and put the pit in there. And what we're using is a modified pit because we couldn't get something down inside here with not enough opening, even through the joist. There's only 14 inches to get the pit through there. So we use a modified pit, which works just great. We're 2 feet deep, which is plenty deep enough. Our sump pump will sit right down in there. Next, I'm going to go ahead and drill the openings for the footer pipe. And there's the trench, so I've got to drill a 4-inch hole right there and one on the other side and hook it all up. Okay, so you can see our hole. That's from the one side of the house, that's the inlet hole, and then you can see the other hole on the other side picking up the other remaining footer pipe coming through. These are 4-inch holes. Now I'm going to connect the footer pipe itself. We also surround the pit with gravel. You can see that gravel down there. We put gravel all the way around the pit, and we also perforate the pit to allow water to come in so that pit doesn't float up like a boat. Sorry, I can't get the camera far enough away to show you everything that needs to be seen here. But you can see I've brought the pipe, the footer pipe, into the sump pit. You can see it right there. Let me get the light. You can see footer pipe coming in on both sides. I put a bag of gravel down in to help weight it down until we get the sump pump, because I don't want this to float up. Even though it's perforated and we've been adding gravel around the sides of the pit, we still don't want the pit to float up because it can act like a boat. Next, you can see the bags of gravel right here. Really hard to move around in this crawl space, but we need to cover up this section here, put a small base underneath, and then cover that with gravel. And then the same thing on this side as it comes around. The gravel is actually all the way to about that point already. In other words, we've gone that far, but we always stop to dig the pit before we continue that gravel in case we have to move it. So let's go ahead and add the gravel, and we're almost done in here. And so outside the house here, we're working on the discharge line. This is going to pick up a downspout from the rear, but it also is where we're going to discharge the sump pumps. You remember that we talked about bringing that water out of the crawl space. Well, that's what we've done inside. Now we need to discharge that water. So we're digging the trench. We're also going to run the downspout drain through here as well. An existing sump pump sits in that little box right there. We're going to update that, put a bigger line on it, and you can see here by the irrigation pipe, there's a 1/4 inch and a quarter pipe that comes out. That's the sump pump. So we're going to make that larger. The line goes all the way back behind that fence to that downspout. In that area is where the 2 sump pumps that are in the crawl space are going to discharge. So again, a really great project if you want to take this on yourself. You know, we've been here, this is our 3rd day, but you can definitely do this job yourself and save tens of thousands over having a contractor come in here and do all this work. Okay, so now we're hanging 1.5 inch pipe. This is our discharge pipe, and I'm hanging it from the joist, and it runs all the way back. It's hard to show you because I can't move around too well, but it runs all the way back to the first sump pit that's up there in the front. We need to be able to discharge that water, and it's going to run all the way down to that crawl space opening. Then we're actually going to core the wall, drill through the wall, bring it outside, and hook it to the downspout drain. So a little bit tough installation, but only because you can see how tight it is in here with all these other pipes, and the headroom is less than 18 inches. So again, something that can be done. You can easily do this yourself, but you will get dirty. The best thing I can tell you is keep your smile and just laugh. Okay, for convenience, when you're working, inside of a very tight crawl space, you could use a no-hub. And this works really good. You can see it's got the stainless steel clamps, 5/16" nut driver, and it just slides on, to the pipe, and you put them together and tighten it up. It's very watertight. That works really good. Or you can use a coupling, and this is a bigger coupling. In other words, you can see it's a little bit deeper inside. See how much deeper that is. This really works much better. There's smaller couplings and you can save a few pennies, but use a bigger coupling when you put this together. Now I know you can. So there's our coupling, and again, we've run this all the way to where the second sump pump is. You can see it down there. You see the round lid. That pump's going to come up over, tie into this one. We'll core through the wall and send it outside, tie it to the downspout drain. Now we've got it hung all the way back. You can see it. It runs all the way back up to the front where there's another sump pump. And again, we just need to be able to get that water out. And I'll say it one more time. Think about how the system works. You see the gravel? This is the footer pipe. People call it a French drain. What it is, it's perforated pipe surrounded by gravel. And this gives the water a place to go. Water floods into your trench. The trench is actually very level. Water floods into the trench, floods up into the perforation of the pipe, and runs down to your sump pumps, wherever they are. Sump pumps lift the water up and carry it out. Okay, so we've got the bulk of this done. You can see our footer tile running in that direction, runs all the way back. And you can kind of see I'm laying on my back. My toes, my boots almost touch the ceiling here. It is a very tight crawl space. We used the rake there to grade out some of the soil, make it a little bit flatter. We have a couple of pieces of the old plumber's pipe to remove and get that crap out of here. They really just left it laying all over trying to hide it. And I don't like to knock people's work, but they could have took that out themselves. Anyways, we've got it all done, and we need to put our moisture barrier down, install our sump pumps, and we're done. Okay, so we're pretty much done here in the crawl space. We're waiting on the pumps. We ordered lots of pumps for this job. They should be here on Monday, and we'll go ahead and install the pumps. I've plumbed all the 1.5" discharge, so it's all ready to go. And once the pumps are in, we'll go ahead and pull the plastic moisture barrier back over the floor. And that helps keep this moisture from rising up into the joist. So again, this was a pretty big installation. If you break it down into parts and you work on this yourself, it's really not that bad. Yeah, you can see I'm really dirty. I've got on a long sleeve shirt because I'm crawling around, and it's just a little bit, nicer on the elbows and things like that. But for a do-it-yourselfer, if you were to do this yourself and just dug, one footer wall over the weekend, it would take you, 2 or 3 days to install the footer, spread it out. Your problem's not going to go away. You don't have to worry. The house isn't going to fall down or anything like that. But again, a really good project. If you want to save tens of thousands, you can definitely do this yourself. Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. This is our final day working on this tiny crawl space. There's the opening, and what we're doing today is we're going to go ahead and core drill. We're going to drill a hole through this block to allow the 1.5" pipe from the sump pumps to come out through the wall, and then we'll trench a line over, and it's going to tie into this downspout drain right here where you can see it's already been covered, but that's okay. So we're going to get out our Bosch hammer drill right here with our 2-inch core bit, and we're going to drill right through this wall. So I've already made the measurements from the inside, and here we go. Okay, so that was a total elapsed time of 1 minute and 48 seconds. If you have the right tool, it doesn't take long at all. Okay, so now we're hooking up the final sump pump, and it's a Zoller M53. You've seen me set it up many times. This is a Zoller M53. We started off by putting an 1.5" male threaded adapter. It screws into this port, and then we cut a piece of PVC. This is our first riser, okay, and that's going to have the check valve at the end. We also drilled a hole through the lid to accept the riser, and then right above that lid is where we're going to put the check valve. So let's go ahead and set that in place. I'm going to glue it all up and set that in place, and then I'll show you the rest. So remember, I've already cut a piece of PVC for our riser. I'm going to go ahead and glue that up with a good amount of glue. We're going to slide that into the male threaded 1.5" adapter, twist and hold. Just hold it in place because it tries to back itself out. Within just a few seconds, it's set. So we're done with that. Now I can set the pump down into the pit. Let me put the lid back on this glue so we don't spill it again. But we'll set the pump down in the pit. It's a heavy pump, so as you do this, keep in mind that your back is right there. There's water in our pit, and you can hear it right there. So, got our cord coming up. Now we're going to set our lid. Remember, I already drilled the hole over top of the riser. We're all set there. Next, we're going to put the check valve on. And check valve only allows water to flow one way. Somewhere on here there's an arrow. It's right here. I don't know if you can see it, but there's an arrow that points the direction of water flow. And it's held together with stainless steel no-hub bands. As you can see, I'm going to set this on here, and I'm going to tighten up the band to make it secure. And then we'll plumb the rest of this up, and it's going to come over this side to a T where it joins the discharge line going through the wall. Okay, so we've got this plumbed and glued. You can see the riser coming up, check valve, arrows pointing up. It turns, comes across, and it tees into the line over here. We're going to discharge out through the wall. You can see it coming out on the other side. Remember the downspout drain that we installed? This is where we attach the discharge from the sump pump, the 1.5". We bring that over to the downspout because there's gravity on the downspout and the pump does not have to push it all the way out to the street. Now we can just backfill and we're done. Geo Fabric is not needed in the crawl space. You know, we've been installing for well over 30 years and we don't wrap the system inside the crawl space. As geotextile fabric became available, several years ago, we've tried many different ways to use the fabric, and honestly, what we have found is it just slows down the flow of water, and it is such paper-thin stuff that it just gets packed with dirt and debris. A good base of gravel under your perforated pipe, surround the pipe with number 67 stone and bring that to grade. That works so much better than fabric. We do not cover the trench with dirt. We leave that gravel exposed. That way any water that comes across the top of the ground drops right through the system. It also picks up the water as it rises up, and it picks it up as it comes through the wall. So in this video, we've shown what it really takes to work inside of a tiny, very tight, no headroom crawl space, and hopefully explained several things about how footer systems work and why they work, why the sump pump is so important, and we've also talked a little bit about predators. And I really don't like to go into knocking other companies, but please beware when you have a YouTube channel that is just slandering company after company and telling you they are the best of everything. Beware, that is a predator. Hey, this is Chuck with Apple Drains, reminding you that if you believe you can do something, I guarantee you can do it. Have a great day. Okay, so for those that need to understand how to connect different materials together, you can see what I've done here. This is a pump, this is an existing pump, it's over here inside this box, and it's a little 1-inch flexible, semi-flexible hose. It needed a check valve, so we put a check valve. This is 1.25 inches on this side of this no hub. This is 1.5 inches. That connects everything together. Easy to do. Just screw it down tight so there's no leaks. You can see it's plumbed. Now we have 1.5 inches going to 1.5 inches to 3, 3 to 4, and it goes into the other pipe. It goes into the corrugated pipe. And I'm going to seal that with a tape to make it nice and tight. It's a roofing tape, window and door roofing tape.